welcome back to Homestead Corner. Today I wanted to talk about some food storage options, different ways that you can package your food for storage, and some tips and tricks that we use to help us with our food storage. So there are tons of videos out there on food storage and what you need and how to package all of your foods. And a lot of times it gets really confusing. One person does it one way, another person does it another way, and not that any of those ways are wrong, but I think it's really important to remember that you have options. There isn't just one way to package your food. Everybody is going to do it a little bit different, and that's okay. Do what works for you, definitely. So when I am looking at long-term food storage for dry goods, a lot of times we go with buckets. Buckets are wonderful because you can fit a lot of food in here. You can fit, 30, 35 pounds of oats or wheat berries or different things, beans, in a 5-gallon bucket. They sell 2 and 3-gallon buckets as well, so it is easier if the 5-gallon bucket is too much to carry. I know a lot of people struggle with the weight once you get it filled up, lugging it around, moving it. So buckets, I think, are a great way to go for those really big bulk items. We use buckets for the dry goods and things that we store a lot of, like beans, oat groats, quick oats, regular oats, anything like that. Sugar, salt, buckets are the way to go. There are different covers for your buckets and different kinds of buckets. If you are putting your food directly in the bucket with no bag, it needs to be a food grade bucket, definitely. If the bucket is not a food grade bucket, you can still use that to store your food in. I store food in buckets that are not food grade, but I make sure that those foods are sealed in something inside. You don't just want to dump your salt in a bucket that's not food grade. If you do that, you want it in a Mylar bag or a vacuum bag or something like that to protect your food. You don't want to get any of those chemicals in there. We try to get food grade buckets, but sometimes you get what you can. Times are tough now. You do what you got to do. And also, there are a bunch of different lids for your buckets as well. This bucket, it is food grade, and I've got just a cheap seal on this. I don't spring for the extra seals when I am putting, this is just quick oats, and they're vacuum sealed in a bag in here. And I have the piece of the package, so if I'm not the one that gets in this bucket and someone else is, they know how to make it. I mean, I can make oatmeal, but someone else might get in there, one of my kids, I might be stuck away from home. If they got to get in there and cook it and they're not sure what to do to it, at least with instructions in there, it helps them. This cheap lid, these are cheap at Walmart. They work great for keeping rodents out, keeping your food protected. It's not airtight, so you need to have your food sealed inside. Also, these lids are weak. If you're stacking buckets, I've had a few of these crack from having buckets on top, and then the whole pile falls over. So they'll crack right in the seam here. It's a little thinner down in this ridge. So these buckets, these lids can definitely crack. You can also get these lids with the rubber ring inside, and they have a little peel tab underneath. These lids are wonderful. If you have these lids, they are airtight, and you can store your food right in a food grade bucket with this lid. You want to make sure it's got that ring in there though, so it is airtight. And you're going to need one of these lid openers. These are the devil to open. These are super simple. They just peel right off with your thumb, not hard at all. But these airtight lids are hard to get off. And you know, if you're opening a couple of them, you're definitely going to want one of these $2-3 wrenches. It's worth the investment. Definitely. So, and you can also go with like a Gamma Seal lid. I have another one here, and this is an airtight. The outside ring slips on the bucket, and then this unscrews. So you can take your lid on and off. And I use the Gamma Seal lids for spice buckets, things that I'm going to get into and I want to close back up. So spice buckets, anything with little stuff in it. And my spices, because we keep them rotated, I don't repackage my spices normally. I'll vacuum seal or Mylar bag my herbs that I grow in the garden after I dry them or freeze dry them, but I don't repackage stuff like this because I go through these buckets all the time and we're constantly pulling stuff out to use, putting new stuff in, and it's constantly rotating through the buckets. So these, I just throw them right in there. They're sealed. This is all sealed up. This is sealed inside. I have never had any trouble, and we've been doing this way for years. You can also use plastic soda bottles. This is just an old ginger ale bottle. I don't know if you can see it as I turn it. Some spots of this are sucked in. This is just a soda bottle. We cleaned it. I think it was, you know, ginger ale, obviously. And it's filled with beans. And this was put in here in 2019. Pinto beans. And there is an oxygen absorber inside. A lot of people put duct tape on here. I don't put duct tape. This thing is rock solid. It is not moving. And you can see the bottle as you move it. It's all dented in spots from that oxygen absorber. And it is nice and sealed still from 2019 with no issues. I have older ones, I think, downstairs, but you know, it works really well. If you are concerned about it, definitely throw on some duct tape if that makes you feel more comfortable. Do what works for you. Absolutely. That's the best way to go every single time. And the oxygen absorber in the bottle works great as well with these lug lids. These are not the standard mason jar lids. They don't fit on here. It's a little bit smaller, but with these lug lids, easy. Just put your food in here, put your oxygen absorber in. I like to add these little desiccant packs just to make sure no moisture, anything like that in there. I have them inside here. You can see inside this jar, there is an oxygen absorber and a desiccant pack, just in case. But this is just some freeze-dried chicken that I freeze-dried, and you can tell it's just fine in there. It's nice and dry. It's not able to get any air in it. But I like to have that. I mean, a little overkill is better than not enough. Personally, that's my opinion. Everybody doesn't do it that way, though, and that's okay. The desiccant packs, these are easily, you can throw these in the oven like 150 degrees, I think, really low, as low as your oven will go, and dry these out if they take on any moisture, and reuse them. So these, you don't have to keep buying them over and over and over. Like your oxygen absorbers, once you use it, it's spent, it's no good, throw it away. But these little moisture absorbers, you can reuse these over and over and over. So we keep a bunch of these on hand, and I always have extra of the oxygen absorbers because they're also great in your Mylar bags. So you can go with the Mylar bag. A lot of people go right with the Foodsaver bags, vacuum sealer bags. Those work really well as well. I have not had any trouble. The only thing that I make sure I do when I use Foodsaver bags is I double seal. I put 2 seals. If one seal lets go, I've got the other one to hold on that'll keep it. So just to give it that little bit extra. I don't put anything in those when I vacuum seal because I've sucked all the air out. This thing is like a brick. I don't put any desiccant pack in there or an oxygen absorber in when I do these. I do put an oxygen absorber in my Mylar bags because they are almost impossible to vacuum seal. Unless they do have some that are have that weave like this bag does on the back of it, so you can use them in a vacuum sealer, but my vacuum sealers don't seem to do that very well, and I have never used those bags that have the weave on the back, but I have heard of them. So again, 2 seals on the top just to make sure. If one lets go, I've got the second one as a backup. I really like that as well. And the only other thing that for your Mylar bags, a little hair straightener works beautiful to seal up your Mylar bags. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can use a regular household iron, but then you're flopping your bag around and you know, you got to lay it down to get that iron on there. I find this to be really easy. You can just go right across the top with it. And I picked this up at the thrift store for like $2, I think, you know, and just clean it up really good. Make sure it's nice and clean. You don't want anything yucky. We washed it all down with alcohol. It works perfectly, honestly. I really like it. It's lightweight, heats up quickly, and I can zip through all my bags at once, which is nice. And vacuum sealing your jars, it does not have to be difficult. You can use a vacuum sealer machine and one of the hoses and one of these caps. They have the regular and the wide mouth. They fit right on the jar, wrong cap. But they go right on the jar like that. And I personally prefer, for me, I like the brake bleeder. This works really good. I use the ABN one, and it says right on the listing that it is for vacuum sealing food and for food storage. So I'll put links to everything down in the description box below if you're looking for something. But I love that brake bleeder because if the grid is down, I can still seal jars. I don't need any electricity. I don't have to drag anything extra out. It just works every time, which is awesome. You just plug the little nozzle into the top, pump it up, and you're vacuum sealed. I picked up this kit a while ago. I'm not in love with this piece, but honestly, the kit, you got both tops and the little pump for like $22. The tops are worth $22. This, you can put it right on there and vacuum seal. It works. I don't think it would last a long time because it's plastic, so I wouldn't really recommend this as a long-term solution at all, but the caps are worth it, definitely. So those are just a few things that we do for our dry food storage. Some of it, the Mylar bags can get pricey. If you know you're going to be getting into the product within the Best By date or soon after the Best By date, a lot of times I don't repackage everything. Save some of that out, and you know, we try to rotate through everything. But if I have, you know, 2 years worth of oats, then it's worth it for me to put them in a Mylar bag. But if I just have 6 months worth of food, I'm not going to repackage it. And for nothing, this literally, it costs just a few pennies if you buy a bunch of oxygen absorbers and put them in a jar and do a few soda bottles at a time, or you can use like the plastic peanut butter jars or mayonnaise jars. I would put duct tape on those because they don't have that rubber seal inside the cap like the soda bottles do. But just put your food in there, put your oxygen absorber in there, crank that lid on as tight as you can, and it will keep your food nice and safe in there. And this is going to last for years, years and years. I know a lot of people don't like plastic, but under the certain circumstances, we need to store food as much as we can for as affordable as we can. And sometimes buying all kinds of stuff isn't the answer. So using what you have, doing it as inexpensively as possible, and do what works for you, definitely. If you have any tips and tricks that you would like to share with people, please put them in the comments down below. There is lots and lots of stuff we can do to store our foods, and little things that can help us make it easier. It doesn't have to cost a fortune. Some buckets and Mylar bags really add up if you're trying to store a lot, but this kind of stuff, really, you got it in the house. It's not going to cost that much, and there's no sense spending money on things that you don't have to. And that's it for today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.